Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you the Knife Guy versus Jarl Conrad in Game 2 out of 2 games in the European Steel Division League, Code A. The last game was an absolutely cracking game. It was so damn good, so if you guys missed it, make sure you go check it out. It was between these two players in Game 1 and really came down to the wire. In this one, we're seeing Carpiquet once again, same map as before. It was rolled random, and sometimes you will get the same map twice, so in this case we are going to be seeing that. On the Allied side today, the Knife Guy is bringing out the 1st Pancerna, and on the Axis side, Jarl Conrad is using the 17th SS. So they each take a turn of Axis and Allies, this time Jarl Conrad on the Axis side, the Knife Guy on the Allied side. You can see that I have orientated the map the other way around. That's because I like to keep the allies on the left just for clarity. I do it in pretty much all of my videos, and subconsciously I think it helps people to realize which units are where and who's belong to who. So either way, let's have a look at these divisions. 1st Pancerna, really solid division. The Knife Guy, I'm sure, will make great use of hurricanes in this game. He could also just go for the sort of close range strategy in the town, bring along staghounds to support infantry. Across the open, he does have access to the Cromwell 6s, which can be very good at sort of engaging in that 1,200 meter range, and the Knife Guy has already put one of those down just as I was going to mention it. Staghound's actually going to be placed on this top side as well. Let's just jump straight into having a look at some of these units that the 1st Pancerna is putting down. So there's going to be a couple of Strelzy heading to the top side with some recon there. Another unit of infantry. Staghound joining those. Cromwell 6 for the airfield. Pretty expected, honestly. The only real 1,200 meter range units that the 17th SS will have is the Pack 40s. So if sort of the Knife Guy plays it well, he can use the fire position trick to try and pin those Pack 40s, although Jarl Conrad did a great job of kind of microing around that in the previous game. Into the town, it's just going to be more infantry. You've got 3 more squads here with the command infantry, and on the bottom side it's going to be some Dragoni following up 3 more units of infantry. Over on the side of the 17th SS, something that's going to be very strong early on is the Stug 3, and we can see that Jarl Conrad is going to be bringing that in. It's something that can definitely deal with the Cromwell 6s. If he can sort of keep the Stug by a road, he can sort of use that fast move to get close to the Cromwell 6 and maybe get some clean shots off, because as long as it has command, it's going to be 3-star veterancy. And that is something that can definitely do a lot of damage in the early game. That Staghound that's on the top side as well won't really stand a chance in the face of a Stug 3 unless it can find a flanking shot. The Panzergrenadier, that's going to be going on to the top side as well though, with Jarl Conrad's units. There is going to be a Stosstroop heading to the town alongside 2 Panzergrenadiers and a Speertroop. On the bottom side it's going to be a Panzerschreck, 1 Stosstroop, sorry, Panzergrenadier and a command infantry here, and also I guess that's going to be a Nebelwerfer at the start of the game, looking for a Nebel engagement into the town. Now, one thing that I do like about Jarl Conrad's infantry choice is that he hasn't fallen into the Stosstroop trap that the 17th SS does present. Like the Stosstroop, yeah, they're fantastic at close range, but you must make sure that you have infantry that has some staying power, and that's what Panzergrenadiers do very well, especially in town engagements. Like Stosstroop, again, great at 100 meter range engagements, but at the longer, like sort of 150 to 200 meter range, Stosstroop can't do anything. They have no weapons that can fire at that range, and therefore if they get caught out at those ranges, then they just lose men for free, and that's something that is not good for a squad that only has 5 men in the first place. But either way, units moving to the front line here, just fast move commands for most of the units with unload at position commands. Oh, stunning shot there from the Stug 3 is going to take out the Staghound straight off the bat. Lovely job indeed. Stug 3 is going to be looking for the shot onto the rifles as well. Lucky for the knife guy there that he did not lose that Streltsy squad. Cromwell 6 now going to be engaging the infantry on the bottom side of the airfield here. Alster now coming in to sort of reel the top side. I think what the knife guy's looking for with this Alster is just an AT gun of some sort that he can exploit with the Cromwell 6. But since the Stug 3 has been the choice of unit for Jarl Conrad, there's not really too much that this recon plane can do about that with the support of Cromwell 6s or even the Hurricane Mark IV, for example. I did mention that the knife guy might make good advantage, or might take good advantage of the Hurricane Mark IV throughout this game. He's already started off with one almost straight off the bat. It's probably a first tick Hurricane, so very nice to see. Nebelwerfer has not fired yet. It doesn't look like the knife guy has presented a big enough target really. He's spread out his infantry enough that a Nebelwerfer really isn't the right choice of unit right now. And while with the Alster discovering it, it won't be long until the knife guy starts strafing that Nebelwerfer. Surely he can see it. He can indeed. Yeah, the Hurricanes can definitely delete that Nebelwerfer before it even fires. There is now an IG-18 heading to the top side. Looks like that's going to be trying to accompany the Stug 3 here, help take out some of this infantry that is on the airfield. It would be nice for a new sort of recon unit, though, to join the IG-18 to actually provide it with targets. Because at the moment, these infantry squads, they can hide themselves very easily if they need to, but at the moment they're kind of just standing on the tarmac, and that's not too difficult for the Stug 3 to spot itself. Now on this bottom side we can see that the Panzergrenadier was taken out. That was looking for a shot onto the M5 half-track there, I would assume. Surprised though that this Nebelwerfer has still not been strafed. It's now targeted by the Hurricane Mark IV. Streltsy have actually managed to get up close and personal with the Panzergrenadier and surrender them due to the help of the Hurricane Mark IV most likely. There is now AA on the way from Jarl Conrad. He's going to try and stop that with a flak filling here. And that's a really good choice actually, because it basically means that the Hurricane Mark IVs will likely get one shot at, or one strafing run at any particular unit, and then likely have to fall back. Otherwise the flak filling has the potential of doing a lot of damage, but also just of course forcing the fallback due to morale. Now the Stug 3 here, driving right up into the face of the Cromwell 6, is going to find the first shot driver wounded. That is really bad news for the knife guy. He has a potential to lose this Cromwell 6 early on, and if he does, that could be very, very bad. But a 6-pounder is on the way. Maybe that can save the day. Stug 3 does not want to engage a 6-pounder at 1,000 meter range. That is a pretty risky engagement for a Stug 3 actually, regardless of the fact it has quite a lot of veterancy. That poor recon squad got absolutely demolished though, but we're looking at a 50-50 right now, and that's a lot more even than it was in the last game. Jarl Conrad managed to make a lot of aggression in the early game previously, and this time around struggling a little bit more, although I guess the other game did start relatively slow as well. But look how close this 6-pounder's got. One thing that I really liked that the knife guy did here was he cheekily moved his universal carrier to pick up the 6-pounder and move it like into range of the Stug 3, like much closer. Unfortunately for the knife guy, he didn't account for the fact that the AP shell actually ended up pinning the 6-pounder as it unloaded. And it seems as though these AP shells have a much sort of higher chance of pinning units than HE shells do. So if an AP shell misses and it ends up next to an AT gun, you often find that it one-shot pins down an AT. And that's exactly what happened in this case. But due to this Stug 3 being under fire from the Cromwell 6, it's going to have to back off from that engagement and is not able to chase down the 6-pounder. Now the Cromwell 6 can take care of the IG-18 while the 6-pounder moves in on the Stug 3. Stug 3 is going to be continued to be forced back by the Hurricane as well up there. Now the Nebelwerfer was used on the bottom side to take out both the Streltsy, but not really too much taken advantage of here by Jarl Conrad. Troop have been brought in to kind of curtail any advance from future Streltsy, but due to the numbers advantage that the knife guy has, there could be a good opportunity here for the knife guy to make himself some ground into this town. These Troop, they really need to be on return fire. They can't really be showing themselves right here. This recon information is very important, just to not only spot things on the airfield, but also anything moving on the bottom side, like underneath that hangar strip there. So Stosstroop done pretty good job so far. Take one of the Strelzy down to 2 men. Does take them out. Now got to use 2 men to take out 9. Like I mentioned, may just be a little bit too outnumbered there. And Stosstroop will likely end up going down. Unless these Stosstroop can get in range. They have. Can the Strelzy finish the job? Trading 2 Strelzy for a Stosstroop is not too bad. But the Stosstroop do not die. And that is a nasty engagement then for the Knife Guy, who now has to deal with 2 Stosstroop there, whilst losing his own 2 infantry squads. Cromwell 6 does start to engage the IG-18, takes it down to 2 health. If the 6-pounder just continues to advance here, there's a good chance that the Cromwell 6 can also do so. But with this IG now getting shots onto the 6-pounder, neutralising that will be very important for Jarl Conrad. This 2-star IG can fire very quickly indeed. And hopefully we'll find the kill for Jarl Conrad, but does not. Jarl Conrad moved that back manually, in fact, which was a very odd choice. Making sure the 6-pounder is dead is extremely important, because then the Stug 3 can like basically move forwards and engage the Cromwell 5 and even this Cromwell 6 with impunity. Its high veterancy here gives it a very good chance of killing this Cromwell 5. Yes, it's under pressure from the Hurricane Mark IV, but I don't feel like you need to fall back in this sort of situation. Allow your veterancy to take hold. There's still a chance, of course, that the Cromwell 5 could just one-bang the Stug 3, but you're working with a law of averages, and now you've waited for the Hurricane Mark IV to come and give another strafing run, which is not really the ideal way to do it, because now the Stug 3 is pinned, the Cromwell 5 is still a threat, and the advantage is now in the Knife Guy's favour. So this Stug 3 is really in trouble now. It just needs to keep backing off if it can. Jarl Conrad knows that, is going to continue to do so. The Knife Guy is just going to start engaging other things due to that Stug 3 getting strafed by the Hurricane Mark IV. It will just keep moving further and further backwards. IG does eventually take out the 6-pounder, which may allow the Stug 3 to find the engagements in the future. But here we see a Ju-87 on the way, and an interesting choice. Maybe it's kind of a bait. The Stug 3 allowed now to engage the Cromwell 5 and does get the engine destroy first hit. Lackverling is going to force back one of the Hurricane Mark IVs. Stug 3 takes out that Cromwell 5. This may have been the best play I've seen in a long time. I think that was just epic bait there from Jarl Conrad. If he does not lose this, it was a really good play. If he does lose it, however, it's a bad play. And it looks like he's got away with it. That was pretty impressive. He flew it straight towards his AA. I kind of feel like he knew exactly what he was doing. Flew the Ju-87 over his AA, forced back the Hurricanes, allowed the Stug 3 to therefore engage the armour, which he knew he would have an advantage in doing so. Absolutely fantastic play there by Jarl Conrad. Because the thing is, the Hurricanes couldn't ignore the Ju-87. If they did, and they continued to strafe the Stug, then the Ju-87 had the potential to kill the Cromwell 6 and the Cromwell 5, and potentially do way more damage than the Stug otherwise would have done. So the Knife Guy was forced into a decision that basically gave him the least amount of collateral damage, and that was just absolutely fantastic. Just trying to get my head around that one, that was impressive. Stosstroop now engaging the Strelzy at close range. I do have some veterancy here from this command infantry, so this isn't going to be a very simple engagement for the Stosstroop. The Strelzy might even manage to get the last shot in there. Can the single Stosstroop do the job? No, it cannot. Hard cover in that house, just about doing the job. Now, the Panzergrenadier and Strelzy firing rifle shots at one another, although of course the Strelzy here can of course fire both his Lee Enfield and Bren at the same time, one gun in each hand, going at it Rambo style. On the bottom side, MG42 pinning down those Strelzy. Stosstroop have got up close and personal with those Strelzy, and they're going to surrender those. Still at a 50-50 at this point, hell of a close game. Stuart 5 trying to find the pot shots at the Stug 3. Double Hurricane back on the scene. Cromwell 6 helping pin down the Stug 3 as well. May allow the Stuart 5 to get a kill here. The Knife Guy also has this 6-pounder that if the Stug 3 is falling back, can probably get a kill, but the Hurricanes there, after strafing the Stug 3 for so long, actually end up killing it. Okay, Cromwell 6 is going to end up killing one of the IGs, and the other IG on the top side goes down to the Stuart 5, so now the top side incredibly vulnerable to attack. The Jarl Conrad's going to want to patch that hole sooner than later, probably bring in something like a Stug 4 would do the job. Although, with the Firefly 1C on the way, that may not be the best decision after all. However, still has plenty of potential in the town. I think some of the infantry engagements that Jarl Conrad has been making have been very good. The 2v2 onto the infantry here was fantastic and definitely delayed the Knife Guy's progress through this town. The Knife Guy doesn't also have many good units himself to do the job on this bottom side. Will have to rely quite a lot on artillery, and that's not something he's doing so far. He could also rely on his Hurricanes, but the Hurricanes have been sort of committed to the top side so far. But with the rest of these units sort of being cleaned up, these Hurricanes can therefore sort of start focusing on the bottom side, find that +1 for the Knife Guy, and that's how he can start to make ground once again. Although the investment in AA is quite severe now for Jarl Conrad. He's got 3 flak-flings, one's on the SDK of Z71. So these Hurricanes can't do it forever, but this half-track could be in trouble with this Stuart 5 now getting extremely aggressive up here. And this is a lot of ground to be lost for Jarl Conrad. He's going to want to save for a tank, bring it in as soon as he can. Pack 38 has been brought into the town here. Nice addition to his infantry to clean up the M5 half-track and command carrier. That will then give a lot more flexibility for his Stosh troop and his Panzergrenadiers to continue forwards. The 232 also a fantastic choice for pinning down and killing a lot of this infantry in the open. Spähstrup have revealed themselves by opening up onto the Stralsy here, which is not ideal, especially with the Cromwell 6 there. That Cromwell 6 surely going to get the kill eventually. 232 coming in alongside a Stug 4 now on that top side. 1,200 meter range engagement for the Stug 4 does mean that it can deal with the 6-pounder from out of range. It can also clean up the Stuart 5. It can kill the Cromwell 6 if it tries to engage it. And yeah, just very good unit to sort of clean up a lot of these units other than the Firefly. It does actually still have a decent chance of killing the Firefly, especially with the 1-star veterancy versus the no veterancy on this Firefly. Does match accuracy as well. I think they both have base 6 accuracy. Yes, they do. So there is a chance the Stug 4 can handle the Firefly, but we'll have to wait and see. On this bottom side, in the meantime, with the half-track dealt with, you can see the infantry is enabled and can start to move forwards. Lovely shot there by the Nebelwerfer. Does take out the command infantry with the first hit. And with those gone, infantry can be surrendered. And just really good use of that Nebel to allow Jarl Conrad to make a little bit more ground, which will stop the +2 from falling in favour of the Knife Guy. So the SDK of Z71, it's very important that this remains alive at the moment, because if it dies, then the Hurricanes will just be enabled once again, and that's something that will be incredibly hard for Jarl Conrad to deal with. But if I was Jarl Conrad right now, I think I'd probably just focus on getting in as many Stug 4s in as possible, and with that being the case, he could then put a lot of pressure on the top side regardless of the amount of units that the Knife Guy has brought in. At the moment, it's kind of annoying for Jarl Conrad because he's got one Stug to take on what seems like the world on this top side. Now this Hurricane Mark 4 flying right over the top of the flak-fling is going to be forced to fall back. Focke-Wulf 190 A8 has been brought in. That's going to take down one Hurricane. Whether or not it can find the second remains to be seen. I doubt it will, honestly, due to that having sort of been retreating for a long time. But lovely hit there by the Ju-87. Just in the corner of my eye, I saw that bail out the Firefly 1C. Coming around for another go onto the Cromwell 6. I thought that was actually lining up for the Firefly there, the perspective getting the better of me. The Cromwell 6 being forced to fall back does not take a critical hit though. Stug 4 now has all the time in the world to clean up the Firefly, but with a return fire on this 6-pounder, the Knife Guy might just find the kill onto the Stug 4. This is going to be very interesting indeed to see how the Knife Guy deals with this. Can the Ju-87 do the job? It does indeed, and there's no AA to cover the Ju-87 this time. That Ju-87 is toast. Oh, lovely kill by the 6-pounder there to take out the AA. The knife guy knew what he wanted to hit, and although the Stug 4 did just take out the Firefly, the 6-pounder's got a shot onto the Stug 4 at that range, and if it starts to fall back with the track will destroy, that Stug 4 is long gone. The Stug 4 is not even firing back at the 6-pounder. 6-pounder's now engaging the 232. 232 might end up pinning the 6-pounder with the 20mm. It does just about, but the Stug 4 is now pinned in the face of the Stuart 5. The Hurricanes are free to strafe these units on the top side. Regardless of this 232 making ground, I feel like the play there, keeping that on return fire from the 6-pounder was absolutely fantastic, and killing the AA first was so important so that he could pin down the other units and make short work of them. Because regardless of how far this 232 gets, it's eventually going to get cleaned up, and it's not really going to do too much damage. It might take out this Bofors, which would be unfortunate. But at the end of the day, that's like one strafing run from a Hurricane. It gets forced to fall back. The M3 command car can just go and surrender it. And considering it's got a very fast on-road speed, you can see the knife guy is going to try and take advantage of that. 6-pounder eventually takes out this Stug 4, so that's no longer a threat. And the top side once again falls in favour of the knife guy, who is going to win now in 16 minutes and 35 seconds. Jarl Conrad has got a lot of work to do. He needs to really sort of bring in more tanks for this top side, and with the Firefly gone, might be able to make a little bit of ground before Phase C. Now in Phase C, the first Pancerna can of course bring in more Fireflies, but if those Stug 4s can win again, then it does leave the top side open to a late game push from the Axis side like we saw in the last game. It'd just be in favour of Jarl Conrad this time around instead of the knife guy. Bofors is going to be pushing forwards here. Beauty of these Bofors on these trucks is they can fire on the move, and that can be very useful for cleaning up some air very quickly, and in this case is going to do so. Hurricane Mark 4 going to try and get on the back of the ME-109 G2 BR-21. Might just about be able to get the kill here actually. It is in range and does do so. I thought the ME-109 might actually sort of outrun the Hurricane Mark 4. Focke-Wulf going to be coming in to try and get revenge, and will likely do so. These Focke-Wulfs are extremely strong in these dogfights, but the Bofors might get the better of the Focke-Wulf here. Yep, and the Hurricane Mark 4 will live to fight another day. IG-18 going to be taking on the M3 command car. Not too significant really in the grand scheme of things, but one thing that Jarl Conrad has done well, considering how badly this top side has gone for him, is he still managed to make ground on this bottom side. And it's very smart for him to do so, as it does definitely sort of stop the knife guy from getting an overwhelming advantage in territory that could sort of make the game impossible to come back from. But at least if he keeps it on just this +1, or even just a +2 for a short amount of time, there's always a chance for Jarl Conrad to come back, and it seems that's what he's playing off at the moment, and it's very smart of him to do so. Panzergrenadiers here are going to be pinned, and they will likely be surrendered. The Strelzy there just need to jump forwards and get the job done. That's what they're going to do. Stug 4 is now on its way. That's a 1 health AT gun. Got to be very careful. And what can happen with those? IG-18 now going to be coming towards the town to assist here, but I think the town's probably the last thing that Jarl Conrad needs to be worrying about now. It's much easier to push aside or get ground back on a side that you've already lost than it is on a side that you've won. And the reason I say that is because his reinforcement point is here, right? And he can push back very, very hard and fast on this top side. Whereas on the bottom side, if he wants to continue to make ground, then he's got so far to go in comparison. And that means that pushing on this bottom side or trying to continue to make ground on the bottom side is really inefficient compared to trying to bring it back on the top side, especially when your reinforcement points themselves are not under threat. However, 17-pounder has landed on the field, and with that being in range of a Stug 4, that is not good fun for Jarl Conrad. He needs to make sure that his Stug 4s stay alive, and needs to find something that can deal with these AT guns, because they have become quite the issue. And since we moved into Phase C, Fireflies will be a thing soon enough. Or even more 17 pounders for that matter. So making sure these AT guns die sooner than later is very important. He does actually manage to clean up the 6 pounder there. And arguably, because it was on 1 health, that's very important. The Nebelwerfer 41, that's reloading once again. It seems to have done a pretty decent job of holding back a lot of the infantry that the knife guy just tried to throw into this town. The addition of an IG will definitely be actually very nice for this bottom side. And just getting some Stoss troop in that can be very lethal at close range will allow Jarl Conrad to play quite defensively. Panzer 4H also heading to the town now with a Stoss troop, but I just feel like more Stug 4s for this open range engagement, assisted by maybe a Nebelwerfer 42, would be fantastic. Nebelwerfer 42s are just like so much more reliable, by the way, of killing AT guns, because they have like a much bigger spread and AoE on their shells. In this case though, Sexton there is going to be killing off the IG, and the IG not going to be able to kill the 17 pounder because of that. Looks like it was something that Jarl Conrad was maybe trying to rely upon. I think he's bringing an IG-33 there. Is an interesting choice. 232, where's that heading? Looks like it's just going to fast move to this bottom side, but the 17 pounder is lying in wait, and I think the 232 is going to end up in line of sight. That is on an attack move, so 17 pounder will open up onto the 232 and likely get a kill here. 232 going to fall back. 17 pounder loses line of sight. Maybe not today. His Stoss troop getting very close to the Strelzy here. Are going to have to smoke themselves off. Do so. Back 38 on this bottom side. That's going to now be artied by the Sexton. Blackfilling going to stop the strafing runs from these Hurricane Mark 4s. I think, honestly, Jarl Conrad's done a really good job of sort of cleaning up a lot of these Hurricane Mark 4s. I think that's the 3rd Hurricane kill for Focke-Wulf, or for the Jarl Conrad. And, yeah, done a pretty good job of that so far. Either way, though, that Stoss troop didn't really end very well. I think, again, continuing to try and push on this top side, or bottom side, sorry, is pretty unnecessary, considering it's unlikely that the Stoss troop will make ground at this point. Like, especially when you get to the edge of the point, he's almost at the limit of how far he can push anyway, because if he tries to push past the edge of the town here, he will just end up in these open range engagements with Cromwell 5s, Cromwell 6s, and there's nothing this sort of infantry can do about that. Whereas with a Stug 4, you have the 1200 meter range, and that's something that he could definitely exploit if he manages to take care of the 17 pounders. And considering he does have an ME-109 G2 BR21, that's something that might go quite well for him. We do see one of the 17 pounders does get taken out though. Clean shot there by the Panzer IV finishes that off. Ju-87 now coming in for the shot onto the Staghound. Looks like the Focke-Wulf's trying to tank some of the AA there for the Ju-87. So the Ju-87 can come in and try and get a shot. But AA pieces these days, they do actually focus the attack planes over fighters. So regardless, the Ju-87 comes under fire. Hurricane Mark IV does the job. Focke-Wulf's already been forced back, so it's not going to go down today, and that's the second Ju-87 gone down. 17 pounders finding a shot once again onto the 232. This is one hella lucky 232 right now, although it looks like it might end up falling back in line of sight of the 17 pounder. Oh, the IG-18 though, that found a shot. Stuart 5, however, going to be returning the favour. Yeah, there's just not enough really to put pressure on this top side at the moment. Second Stug 4 finally on the field. Maybe we can see Jarl Conrad bring this back. Now, of course, there is another Firefly that he's probably going to have to deal with. It would be unlikely that the Knife Guy doesn't bring another Firefly in Phase C. So there is that still lying in wait, and even with that gone, 17 pounders still are an issue, especially this one on the top side. But I guess if that one dies, there's going to be a limited availability, because the first Pancerna isn't the Scots at the end of the day. There's definitely a limited amount of 17 pounders available, and if you manage to get through them all, then you do definitely open up the map quite a bit with your 1,200 meter range units. Panzer IV is getting very aggressive here. Luckily, a lot of these infantry do not carry AT weapons, so Jarl Conrad's getting away with having his Panzer IV in very close vicinity there. 222 is going to be pushing forwards with the Stug 4. Stug 4s, they're not fantastic at max range, so assisting these with some command would be quite nice at this point. But this might take a while. Although it's like 52% territory at this point, Jarl Conrad's probably going to need a +2 in order to win now. So if he doesn't start making back the ground soon, he's going to be in a pretty tough spot. He's kind of at the same crux as the KnifeGuy was in the previous game. He's got to make that comeback. Panzer IV was trying to engage the Sherman 5. Sherman 5 does get the better of the Panzer IV at that range, so we can see that occurring there. Stug 4 though, going to get very aggressive. You can see that the 17 pounder was killed off, and now these two Stug 4s are set to take over this airfield. It really depends though if the Sherman 5 lets it, because what could potentially happen here is this Sherman 5 gets up behind one of these hangars and makes it very difficult for the Stug 4 to be aggressive due to the Sherman 5 just being in the position that it is. And while in this case the Sherman 5 ends up pinning the Panzer IV and it got surrendered to the Strelzy, 222 also went down. Really nice smoke here actually from the Sexton, just trying to cover itself off. 17 pounders being deployed behind that smoke, and this could actually be a very smart move here from the KnifeGuy. Because if he keeps the deployment of the 17 pounder hidden by smoke, as soon as the smoke clears he gets a clean shot onto the Stug, and that could be a clean kill. But here comes a Focke-Wulf 190 to try and save the day. Hurricane is going to engage that though. So is the Bofors. Stug 4 did weapon jam the Cromwell 6, so that's something that he doesn't have to deal with anymore. Looks like this Ju-87 is probably going to go down, but took some shots at the Sherman 5. Surprised he didn't get the kill there. It's very important that actually goes down, so I'd like to see the Stug try and clean up that kill, and it is going to try and do so. Yeah, it is going to cost Jarl Conrad one of those Ju-87s, but if he can find the kill onto the Sherman 5, it will probably be worth it, because then he can obviously get very aggressive on this airfield once again. But the Sherman has actually recovered from that attack, and now this engagement with the Stug 4 is incredibly risky, because a 2-star Sherman, regardless of how panicked it is, at that range is still a scary opponent. It aims very quickly. Jarl Conrad, lucky guy. A 2-star Sherman at that range missed. Yes, it was half panicked, but still. That is lovely for Jarl Conrad. Opens up this airfield a treat. Does need to have take care of this 17 pounder, and that currently has shots onto one of the Stug 4s, and I don't think that's going to end well. Track wheel damage for the Stug 4. Is it going to be able to back out of range? Maybe just. But we'll slow down the use of that unit, and the Firefly 5C is creeping up upon it. Feel like that's going to be a very dead Stug 4. Jarl Conrad's going to have to find something to deal with the 17 pounder, because if he does not, sooner than later, he's going to run out of time. A Nebelwerfer at this point would be very nice, either to just pin it or actually kill it. So I'd like to see maybe just like an artillery piece come in. He could also rely on his strafing runs, or I believe the ME-109. Firefly does manage to clean up that Stug 4, which was likely to occur. One thing that he could actually do is bring up this Nebelwerfer. I'm not sure quite what the range is here, but he could pick up the Nebelwerfer in the Opel Blitz and move it up towards the airfield and just get the shot off into the 17 pounder. That could work, rather than having to invest in an entirely new Nebelwerfer. However, it looks like there is maybe one on the way. Actually, that might just be a mortar. But this Firefly may put a stop to his plans. Well, the 17 pounder might at this rate. Yep. 17 pounder engages the Stug 4, half pins the Stug 4, gives the Firefly the free side shot as well. Now the Firefly can clean up another Stug 4. And I feel like the game's really starting to fall away from Jarl Conrad. He definitely had a chance, but with the Firefly coming in, I was talking about how this Firefly could be an issue, and we can see just how it has been. TheKnifeGuy not letting this engage anything that requires HE. Look, he's turned off both the HE shells on the main gun and the machine gun, if you look in the bottom right. And that's so it purely engages enemy armor. Very, very smart move. At this sort of range, this is not ideal for Jarl Conrad, because the 16 AP of the Firefly can very much kill a Stug 4. Whereas a Stug 4 with the 12 AP versus 11 front armor of a Firefly, not really going to have the same effect. Now, the M3 Commander and 17 pounder go down at the same time to this 120mm mortar, so nice clean shot there from that artillery piece. But with 7 minutes 50 seconds left on the clock and the last Stug 4 under pressure, it looks like Jarl Conrad's in trouble. This Befehl Panzer 4 has got a lot of work to do. Can it get the shot? Double Focke-Wulf 190 is going to come in. Engine destroyed onto the Firefly. Nice start. Befehl Panzer 4 just needs to clean this up before the Sherman 5 can save it. And certainly does. Second shot finds the mark. And two clean shots there from the Panzer 4. Now the Mustang Mark III coming in to challenge these two Focke-Wulfs. The double Focke-Wulf is pretty damn strong, but due to them being so close together when they're flying here, it could end pretty badly. But the Flak-Fling getting involved may save the bacon of both of these Focke-Wulfs. Sherman 5 now making short work of the 120mm mortar. IG-18, or IG-33 even, is in a bit of trouble here. Could potentially be cleaned up by the Sherman 5 as well. It's Hurricane Mark 4 on the way. What's that going for? I'm guessing it's probably going for the IG. Just flying around this top side, maybe trying to get a side shot onto the Stug 4 possibly. Or interesting engagement here. Befehl Panzer 4 gets to jump onto the Sherman 5. The trap will destroy. Can it find the kill? Have to wait and see. Stug 4 killed the Cromwell 6 on the airfield in the meantime. Rocket strike does come in. Forces the Stug 4 to fall back, and that's just going to waste more time. Surprised Jarl Conrad didn't get the kill here, but that's just because the Sherman 5 ended up hiding itself in its bush. Panzer 4 will find it again though, and clean that up. So regardless of the fact the TheKnifeGuy has not much armor left on the field, Jarl Conrad I don't feel like has the time to really push back. He's got 5 minutes and 45 seconds. He would have to find quite a lot of ground. It's going to be a +3 at this point really, maybe even a +4 to reliably get the victory. So I think the TheKnifeGuy may have just done enough. That Firefly came in, was such a nuisance, took out 2 out of 3 of the Stug 4s, and that was so incredibly important. So incredibly important. So a decisive move from the TheKnifeGuy may just leave Jarl Conrad without hope in this game. Now we can find clean shots onto the Sexton here. You could also kill off the Bofors. This Stug 4 really needs to start fast moving up this airfield. There is another one on the way. You can't be messed about here. Go on, Jarl. Micro that just a little bit better. Move order it out and let it take the shot. Now the Hurricane Mark 4 coming in. Going to be a nuisance. Sexton starting to fire as well. If this Bofors ends up surrendering the Panzer 4, I will not believe it. That will just be the most horrific thing to happen for Jarl Conrad. At the moment though, Panzer 4 going to back off. It looks like surely the Panzer 4 can get the job done. Nope, it's going to be pinned. The TheKnifeGuy's done it. And since the Bofors can fire on the move, this Panzer 4's in trouble. It's gone. It's actually gone. Unfortunate news there for Jarl Conrad. Losing that Panzer IV definitely does take away a lot of the pressure he had on the bottom side of the airfield. Now he's solely reliant on these two Stug 4s, and meanwhile, whilst these Stug 4s try and make some ground here, the Sherman can just quite simply sit behind the hangars, and Jarl Conrad won't make much ground because of that. So even if all of these units die, the M3 is still hiding on this top side. That's annoying. Hurricane Mark IV is going to continue to strafing run, and there's 3 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock. I really think that losing the Panzer IV here was the last straw, and now we're going to see an engagement between the I was going to say the SDK Z72 and the Bofors, but no, not quite. It's going to be the Sherman 5 taking on the SDK Z7 there, and it does go down. I was hoping we saw an engagement there between the Bofors and the Flak 36. That would have been quite amusing to watch, but either way, now the Stug 4 going to be pinned, and the Sherman 5 will look for an engagement, shooting at the other Stug 4 that isn't pinned. This could be bad news for the Sherman 5, but Jarl Conrad going to surrender, and after 37 minutes and 9 seconds, another fantastic game. Honestly, I thought going into this, I knew that both of the maps were Carpiquet. I thought Carpiquet, it's not normally the sort of map that gives you a good game, but these have been some absolutely cracking games. They've been really, really good between these two players, so hats off to both of them. Jarl Conrad there definitely needed to focus on those Stug 4s just that little bit earlier. Taking out that Firefly 1C in Phase B was so important, and then after doing so, it gives you so much opportunity to exploit that advantage of having 1200 meter range armor when your opponent does not. It's like armor with AP value at least. But the 17 pounders, they were a nuisance enough. Again, the Firefly came in at the end there, did the job. There was some spectacular plays there though. One was the Ju-87. In the early game, the Stug 3 and the Ju-87, giving the TheKnifeGuy the choice. And yeah, that was fantastic. The Ju-87 bait. There was 2 Hurricanes in the air. Who would have thought to bring in a Ju-87 at that point? And the Ju-87 gets away with it because it flies directly over the flak fling. Fantastic play. That is literally the highlight of this game for me. Awesome stuff. And well, look at that. The kills and losses extremely close. Really just shows the nature of the game. It was pretty slow to start in terms of the territory gain on either side, but action all the way through. 2,940 kills to 2,935 losses for Jarl Conrad. Unfortunately, a major victory for the TheKnifeGuy, but congratulations to the TheKnifeGuy. Takes 2 victories out of these 2 games. 2 spectacular games. Yeah, once again, just thank you to these 2 players for playing them, because they were absolutely awesome. Hurricane Mark IV there gets credited for the Stug 3 kill. That was quite unbelievable. Cromwell 6, that cleaned up on that airfield quite nicely as well. This Hurricane Mark IV credited for 2 Ju-87s, the ME-109s. That's where the ME-109 went. I thought the ME-109 got away, but it obviously did not. I must have forgot that it got shot down, because I was mentioning how that could have killed the 17 pounders. But either way, there were other options that I would have hoped that Jarl Conrad had in other Nebelwerfers and whatever else to clean up the 17 pounders sooner than later and enable the Stug 4s on the top side. But either way, 6 pounder there takes out Stug 4. This Firefly taking out 2 Stug 4s was very important. Sherman 5 killing the Pfeil Panzer 4. Seeing the Bofors surrender the Panzer 4 at the end was just crushing. But yeah, most of the significant kills covered there. Stug 3 in the early game just popped that Staghound straight away on the top side. Killed the Cromwell 5 as well. Nice and clean. That 3-star Stug can be really, really deadly. Some fabulous infantry engagements from Jarl Conrad in the town. I loved it when he did the 2v2 and ended up coming out with both of his Stosstroop squads. Very nice indeed. SBW 232 cleaning up a few infantry there. Focke-Wulf shot down a couple of these Hurricane Mark IVs. I think it was good that it did. I think Jarl Conrad was sort of just on the edge of being overwhelmed by the air force of the Knife Guy, but he just about maintained it, because it's not like he did invest in quite a lot of AA, but he didn't concentrate it. So it meant that the Hurricanes could still get in strafing runs here and there once some of those AA pieces sort of got killed by artillery or whatever. The IG-33s, one of them took out the 17-pounder, which is pretty important. Befehl Panzer IV taking out the Firefly and the Sherman at the end. That is a Panzer IV that paid itself off quite nicely indeed. But yeah, the infantry engagements were really where it was at for Jarl for the most part. Unfortunately, couldn't take advantage of the open ground. Really, really wonderful game though. Well played to both players in both games. Again, make sure you go check out the previous one if you haven't already. And before I leave you, make sure to check out my Vulcan Total War channel if you're interested in Total War content. But that's it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.